The wind swept across the open plains, carrying with it the scent of dust and sorrow. The sun had long dipped below the horizon, leaving only a faint orange glow over the vast ranchlands. It was the kind of silence that spoke louder than words, where memories came alive and regrets refused to fade. Forgiveness can be the strongest form of courage because it demands something far greater than physical strength or words of defiance. It requires the heart to rise above its own wounds and face the very thing that caused its pain. Most people think courage means standing tall against an enemy, but true courage often means kneeling before your own hurt and saying, "I will not let this control me." To forgive is not to forget what happened, nor is it to justify the wrong. It is an act of reclaiming peace from the chaos that others left behind. It is the quiet decision to no longer allow anger or revenge to dictate one's life. When someone chooses forgiveness, they are not excusing betrayal or pretending that suffering didn't matter. Instead, they are acknowledging it fully and still choosing not to be consumed by it. That is what makes forgiveness so rare and powerful. It is an act that transforms the person who gives it more than the one who receives it. Anger feels strong. At first it burns, it motivates, it gives a sense of purpose, but over time it drains the spirit and hardens the heart. Forgiveness, though it feels like surrender, actually restores strength. It allows the heart to breathe again. In a world where revenge is glorified and pride is mistaken for power, forgiveness becomes a rebellion. It defies the idea that pain must be repaid in kind. The person who forgives steps out of the endless circle of hurt and creates a new path. It is not an easy path. It demands reflection, patience, and deep emotional honesty. It means confronting your own weakness, your anger, and the desire to see others suffer as you once did. Yet, in doing so, you find something unbreakable within yourself, a calm power that no one can take away. Forgiveness often begins in silence. It is not announced or celebrated. It happens when a person is alone, replaying old memories, and suddenly realizes they are ready to let them go. It may come after nights of tears or years of bitterness. It may come slowly, like dawn after a long storm. But when it does, it changes everything. The chains of resentment fall away, and the soul feels lighter. You begin to see that forgiveness was never for the other person, it was always for you. It takes immense courage to look into the face of someone who wronged you and not let hatred win. It takes even more courage to forgive someone who will never say sorry. To forgive does not mean you invite them back into your life or trust them again. It means you have learned the lesson, accepted the pain, and chosen to move forward without letting it poison the future. This kind of courage is invisible to most people, but it is the foundation of true strength. It is the power to rebuild, to love again, and to live without the burden of what was done to you. Love often survives where pride cannot, because pride builds walls while love builds bridges. Pride demands to be right, to win, to protect the ego at all costs, while love quietly asks for understanding, patience, and humility. When two people are torn apart by conflict, it is often pride that keeps them from reaching out, from saying the words that could heal everything. Pride whispers, "Don't be the first to apologize," but love gently insists. It's not about who's right, it's about what's worth saving. Pride is loud and sharp, but love is steady, enduring even in silence. There are moments in every life where holding on to pride feels like power. It feels like self-respect, a shield against the pain of rejection or betrayal. Yet pride, left unchecked, turns into a barrier that isolates. It locks people inside their own hurt, unable to reach across the space that time and anger create. Love, on the other hand, doesn't disappear so easily, it waits. It lingers in the smallest gestures, in the memories that refuse to fade. Even when people walk away, love remains quietly present in the heart, hoping for a chance to mend what pride has broken. Pride is often born from fear, the fear of being vulnerable, of being hurt again, of appearing weak. Love, however, thrives in vulnerability. It grows when people choose to be open despite their fears. When a person lowers their guard, they make room for empathy, and empathy is where healing begins. Love teaches that admitting fault does not make one small. It makes one real. It shows that caring for someone is not a loss of dignity, but a sign of strength. Pride tells you to protect yourself. Love tells you to trust again, even when it hurts. In every relationship, whether between friends, family, or lovers, there comes a test between pride and love. When tempers rise and words are thrown like weapons, pride takes the lead. It convinces you that retreating is safer, that silence is victory. But once the anger cools, love steps forward and reveals the emptiness pride leaves behind. It becomes clear that being right means little if it costs you the person who mattered most. Love endures because it sees beyond the moment. It remembers the laughter, the sacrifices, the shared dreams. It reminds you of what truly matters when pride blinds you to it, when pride finally fades. What remains is often love wounded, quiet, but still alive. That is its nature, to survive storms, to find its way through pain. It may not erase what happened, but it softens the sharp edges of memory. It makes room for forgiveness, for understanding, for a new beginning. Pride can end a story. Love has the power to rewrite it. Love does not demand perfection. It simply asks for the courage to try again, to believe that connection is worth more than the comfort of ego. It endures because it comes from the soul, not from the need to win. Healing begins when hearts choose compassion over anger, because compassion opens a door that anger keeps locked. Anger feels powerful, almost protective, especially after someone has caused deep pain. It rises quickly, shields the heart, and convinces the mind that staying angry means staying strong. But anger, no matter how justified, is heavy to carry. It burns slowly from within, turning every thought into a reminder of what was lost or what should have been different. Compassion, on the other hand, does not erase the hurt, it simply changes how the hurt is carried. It transforms the weight of pain into understanding, and from that understanding, healing quietly begins. Choosing compassion is not the same as excusing what someone did. It is not blind forgiveness or weakness. It is the recognition that everyone carries their own wounds, their own fears, their own stories of struggle. When a person chooses to see others through that lens, the sharpness of resentment begins to fade. The heart learns to soften, and in that softness, space is created for peace. Compassion does not demand that you forget what happened, but it asks you to release the need for revenge, to stop feeding the cycle of pain that anger sustains. Healing is not something that happens overnight. It takes time, reflection, and an honest willingness to face what hurts most. Anger delays that process. It keeps the wound open, reminding you again and again of the injustice. Compassion begins the slow work of closing it. It teaches the heart to look beyond what was done and focus on what can still be saved: dignity, hope, and emotional freedom. It allows you to stop being defined by what broke you and start being shaped by what you learned from it. When compassion enters the heart, it changes how you see not only others but also yourself. Many people hold anger not only toward those who hurt them but toward themselves for allowing it, for trusting, for being vulnerable. Compassion silences that inner critic. It reminds you that being kind to yourself is part of healing too. It helps you accept your past without judgment, to look at your scars not as marks of weakness, but as signs of survival. Through compassion, you begin to understand that pain was never meant to make you bitter. It was meant to teach you how to be gentle, even in a harsh world. There is great strength in choosing compassion when anger feels easier. It takes courage to see the humanity in those who failed you, to offer kindness when your heart still aches. Yet that choice is what frees you. Compassion brings calm where anger brings chaos. It invites peace into spaces that grief once ruled. When the heart chooses compassion, it starts to breathe again. The weight of resentment begins to lift, and the wounds that once seemed endless start to close from within. Healing begins the moment love becomes stronger than bitterness, and understanding becomes more important than pain. In the end, life will always test the strength of our hearts through pain, loss, and disappointment. But it is in those very moments that our true character is revealed. Choosing forgiveness over vengeance, love over pride, and compassion over anger does not make us weak, it makes us extraordinary. Strength is not found in how fiercely we fight others, but in how bravely we conquer ourselves. When we let go of resentment and allow kindness to guide us, we don't just heal, we rise. Because the greatest victory a person can ever achieve is not over another soul, but over their own pain.